So, why did I stop being spiritual? So, some of you might know I actually built this channel when I first started back in 2020, posting on here. It was all about spiritual shit and just, how to be better connected with yourself, going out, taking care of yourself, meditating, just all these things. And I realized eventually, just living through life, I was 18 at the time, and I realized I just didn't live life enough to the point of even knowing why it was important for me to do those things that I was doing. For instance, I would get up in the morning, I would, be doing gratitude journaling and whatever, and going to meditate every day and going to the park. And, you know, in hindsight, it was actually such a good time in my life because it was, around the whole COVID time, and I honestly be able to do whatever you want for the most part. And I was 18, I just had 17, 18. I didn't have anything else to do either. So that was happening then. But then eventually throughout the years, I actually started, going around people that weren't meditating. And for the most part, they were doing all right. They were doing okay. They weren't doing the spiritual shit. They weren't doing the connecting with yourself shit. And they seemed to be doing fine. And, I started dating girls that were doing all that shit. And then I eventually, started getting partying a little bit, started experimenting with alcohol and shit. And that, that kind of put me on a path of, all right, well, I can still have a decent life and not have to do all this shit. So I completely kind of just put all of that in the back bench. But then, later on, I got started making a little bit more money. I was starting to run my own business for a while too. I had my own clothing brand business, and it was doing pretty well. I was making decent money, all I can say. And once I was at that point, I really realized like, oh, I don't need to do any of the extracurricular activities of trying to taking care of yourself, eating healthy. I kind of let myself go in the, more aspects of feeling good, because let's be honest, a lot of this, spiritual stuff is really just taking care of yourself. When you meditate, it really doesn't do as much, in terms of like, oh, your physical body or, how it affects you. But what it really does for me anyways, is just the mental clarity and like being able to just stay calm. Like, I think that's the biggest effect of meditating and specifically, but let me get back to the point. So, around the 2020 to 2024 was this time of me being a degen. If I had to put it in better words, I was just being a degen. I started, going out partying, doing all these bad things, hanging around bad people, not bad people, just people doing other degen shit too. And that's kind of what I was at, where I was at. And then, later on, I started making a bit more money with the clothing brand business I had going on. That was really sick. It was really nice to be on that entrepreneurial lifestyle for a while there. It was really sick, just, making money on the internet. And it was like, whoa, I could do this. And that was like one of those really, really big growing times for me. But that was also a time of like straight hustle, nothing else. And that was when not that I, wasn't working out or anything, because I've always consistently hit the gym. I've never been one of those guys that like fell off the gym. It was just kind of like a habit at that point. So the gym was always a part of my adult life, you could say. I've been going to the gym since I was like 15. I just never really progressively overloaded. That's like the only regret I had. But speaking of, just getting back to it, when I was at that era of, all right, I'm making money, I'm doing the dumb shit that's like degen partying. I'm not hanging around people who are really on their shit either. But, obviously everyone at the end of the day is focused on career and money. And then later on, I just started feeling like I had no sense of fulfillment. I just, there was this like void inside of you where you can go so long without taking care of yourself. Eventually, it's like something calls you, and it's just like you feel this emptiness. It's like you can have all these things. You could be seeing girls that you like, and you can be out making a lot of money, and you can be out with your boys, and you're partying, and I feel like all of those things are only so fun for so long, and then eventually there's like a part of you that just calls you, and it's like, man, not that you want to become super spiritual again, but it's just you want to take care of yourself, and you want to try to get to connect with whatever it is that made all of this, because I can't say what it is. I don't know what it is, but I just know there's something out there. I don't know. I've always felt that. But I ultimately did come to the conclusion that if you moderate, like for instance, every now and then you can go have a drink with your buddies, or you can go out, have a date with a girl that you really like. And all these things, I think, in moderation. And like, even when it comes to material stuff, going out, buying a car, or going out doing these, buying nice clothes and doing some of the materialism shit is cool too. And it's like, everything is always good in moderation. And I always, feel that now. Like I feel that heavily now. And it's just ultimately like when I was younger, I was doing it, but like I was doing it to the point where it wasn't even fun at the end, right? Like 17, 18, I was so like on my health, so on my like meditation, so on everything. But I just realized like it was so much. And I just kind of became the type of person I'd want to avoid if I looking back, because I would be like looking around at people around me at that time and being like, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not healthy. You're doing these degen habits. And, you kind of develop like this egotistical complex where you look at other people and you think you're better than them somehow. And it's like, no, they're just doing a different thing in life than you are. And maybe they'll get to the point where you're at. And maybe you might actually go to the point route they're taking and you won't even know it. And after living a bit of life, I just kind of realized like, everyone's doing their thing. And sometimes you'll be on your shit all the time. And sometimes you might not always be doing that. But, it's always nice though to just prioritize yourself, because when you eat clean, you eat healthy, you take care of yourself, you're working out, you're progressively overloading on weight, and you're just getting a good start to your day, and you're meditating and all these things where they seem like small habits, but they just add up. And I don't know like how to fully describe it or put it into words, but it's one of those things where once you really lock in, but you also don't force yourself to do these things every day. You should never have like a full set routine, just because eventually there'll be times in your life where you just can't stick to a routine. Like there'll be a couple days where I might actually not go to the gym. I might go to the gym 3 days in a row. I might take 2 days off, or I might go 4 days in a row. I might take 3 days off. There's times where it's like, oh, I might meditate a whole week straight, and there might be days where I just don't meditate at all. Like, I can go 4 days in a row meditating. I might take 2 days off meditating, just because, not that I didn't feel it, but it's just something just happened and I just couldn't. And it's just one of those things where you shouldn't really try to live your whole life on a routine, because then that's what makes even the good habits miserable. Like, if I had to consistently go to the gym every day at the same set time for like 5 days in a row, a week, every week for the rest of my life, I would hate myself. I would kill myself. I would do that in GTA, but I would just hate doing the fun things. And, I find fun and pleasure in these habits. I always have, but it wasn't fun then, because I overdid it. And I started having this like complex of if I don't do it, I'm going to like mess up my life. And then I realized it's like, no, it's just like existing, right? Like there's good things, bad things. Partying is part of life sometimes. Taking care of yourself should be part of your life too, most of the time. And then just going out, experiencing shit, it's like you only really live once. And I hate saying the YOLO shit, but like, it's really just YOLO, like, I also had this one thing where I quit video games for like 4 or 5 years. Not 4 or 5 years, but I would really never really touch games. And it's not because like I didn't like games or anything. I just thought like, who the fuck plays video games when they're like grown, like adults? And I was like, I started developing this dumbass idea of like, oh, it's not good to do that. But like, if that's like your one way to connect with your homies and friends, and it's like, do it. Like if you get like an hour or two a week, just get on the game, play with your boys. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And some, like, you'd fall into these traps of like, sometimes you watch like people on YouTube that say like, oh, you shouldn't play games. You shouldn't even work out. You shouldn't even meditate. You should just be focused on making money, because money is everything. And it's like, I have enough money to just live comfortably. Why the fuck do I like, like once I have now that I have like enough money to just like never worry really, I can, have a good career path going. Like, okay, that's a pillar of my life where I feel really secure now. Now I got to focus on these other pillars of my life, my health, my well-being, and just my overall quality of life, how much time I get to spend with the boys, how much time I'm having, I'm out doing shit, just fun shit, traveling, like enjoying even video games. Like these are just things in life where it's like, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. Now, if you overdo it, that's when it's bad. But if you moderate, it's perfect. It's fun. It's fine. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was just really all over the place, but I just really wanted to make a video on like, why I stopped being spiritual. And like now I am spiritual-ish again. I still am doing all these healthy habits I was doing before, and I feel much better, but I'm not overdoing it to the point where I actually hate doing these things, because that was where I was getting, where I actually started hating doing these things. And that's when it like really fucks you up. But yeah, live life, enjoy yourself, party if you need to once in a while. Go out with your boys, go out on some dates with some nice girls. Do whatever the fuck you got to do. Take care of yourself. Also, just do these things. Everything in life is worth doing in moderation. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. You guys take care. Peace.